When a man is truly drawn to you, something subtle but powerful begins to happen. His focus shifts. You might not even notice it at first because it's not loud or obvious. It's quiet. It's in the way his attention naturally gravitates toward you, even when you're not speaking. You become the anchor point of his awareness. It's as if, in a room full of distractions, he still manages to stay tuned to your frequency. That's not coincidence, that's chemistry combined with curiosity. And it's one of the most undeniable signs of deep attraction. What's interesting is that this kind of focus isn't about infatuation or control. It's not the obsessive checking in or the performative gestures. It's presence. A man who's deeply attracted to you doesn't need to dominate the moment. He listens more. He notices more. He remembers that you like your coffee a certain way, or that you mentioned something stressful coming up at work. He absorbs those small details because his mind has quietly assigned importance to you. And that's the truth about attraction. It's not just emotional or physical, it's psychological. We often talk about attraction as if it's some uncontrollable force, but in reality, when a man's attention consistently lands on you, it reveals something deeper, value perception. He sees something about you that his brain identifies as rare. It could be your confidence, your warmth, or the calmness you carry, but whatever it is, it stands out against the noise of everything else, and the human mind is wired to focus on what feels meaningful. That's why you'll often catch him glancing your way, even when you're not looking. It's not about wanting your attention. It's about being drawn into your energy. And here's the thing, the men who feel this kind of pull often don't even realize they're doing it. They just find themselves more alert, more attuned, more affected by your presence. Maybe his voice softens slightly when he speaks to you, or he listens longer before responding. These are micro shifts that reveal where his emotional investment truly lies. Because focus is the first language of attraction, long before words, long before touch. Attention is the signal that says, you matter here. But this is where so many people misunderstand the signs. They assume that if a man isn't being loud about his feelings, he must not have them. Yet often, the most powerful kind of attraction hides behind restraint. The man who's deeply drawn to you might hold back precisely because what he feels is real. It's not casual flirtation, it's vulnerability disguised as calmness. His silence isn't disinterest, it's self-control. And when you understand that difference, you stop chasing validation and start observing truth. When a man's focus begins to center on you not out of obsession, but out of respect, interest, and genuine emotional curiosity, that's when you know something authentic is happening. Because attention, in its purest form, is the most valuable thing anyone can give. We can fake charm, we can fake confidence, but we can't fake focus. So when you notice that his awareness sharpens around you, don't question it, don't rush it, just recognize it. Attraction isn't proven by words, it's revealed in the way someone chooses to see you, even when no one else does. And remember this, the truest sign of connection isn't in what he says, it's in one of the clearest signs of deep attraction. The kind that runs beneath the surface is when a man starts to mirror your energy without even realizing it. Human beings are wired for connection, and one of the subconscious ways we show it is through imitation. It's something psychologists call mirroring behavior. When someone feels connected to you, they start reflecting your gestures, your tone, even your rhythm of speech. It's not calculated, it's instinctive. It's the mind's way of saying, I'm in sync with you. You might notice him leaning in when you do, matching your pace when you walk beside him, or using similar expressions and phrases. It's subtle, but it's powerful, because what's really happening is that his nervous system is aligning with yours. That's emotional rapport, and it's not something you can fake, It comes from genuine interest. The deeper the emotional pull, the more the mirroring occurs. It's his way of emotionally moving closer to you without stepping over boundaries. But let's go a bit deeper than the science, because attraction isn't just biological, it's psychological. When a man mirrors you, he's showing a form of respect. He's saying without words, I value your presence enough to adapt to your energy. He might not even know he's doing it, but it's his subconscious trying to build harmony. This is especially interesting when you notice it happening in moments of tension or disagreement. If a man lowers his tone when you do, or softens his body language after you relax, that's not coincidence, that's connection overriding ego. What's beautiful about this is that it reveals attraction at its most human level, not as a game, not as performance, but as alignment. You're not forcing him to act differently. His attraction to you is creating a natural synchronization. That's when you realize that chemistry isn't about sparks or drama. It's about resonance. It's about finding someone whose emotional frequency begins to match your own without effort. Now, here's where people often misunderstand this behavior. They think mirroring means imitation in a superficial way, like pretending to like the same things or copying personality traits. But real mirroring isn't about losing individuality. It's about emotional attunement. It's when two people start to feel each other on a deeper level, when his reactions become responsive to your emotional state, not just your physical movements. That's what makes it meaningful. And what's even more fascinating is that mirroring doesn't just signal attraction, it deepens it. When two people reflect each other's energy, it reinforces connection. It tells both nervous systems, this feels safe, this feels familiar. And safety is the foundation of emotional intimacy. So when a man starts mirroring you, it's not just a sign he's attracted, it's a sign he's beginning to trust the connection enough to let his guard down. If you've ever been in a moment where conversation just flows effortlessly, where you're both laughing at the same rhythm, or sitting in silence that doesn't feel awkward, that's mirroring in its purest form. That's not performance, that's presence. So when you see those subtle reflections in his behavior, don't dismiss them as coincidence. Attraction doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it whispers through body language, through tone, through the quiet synchrony of two people who are unconsciously saying, "Me too." And here's the truth worth remembering. When a man starts mirroring your energy, it's not because he's trying to be like you, it's because being near you makes him feel more like himself. Where his attention goes when he doesn't have to give it. One of the most telling signs that a man is deeply attracted to you, but trying hard to conceal it, is the way his emotions betray him when he's around you. You see it in his eyes before he says a word, in the small hesitations in his voice, in the slight nervousness that creeps into his body language. He might look perfectly calm on the outside, but his emotional energy tells a completely different story. When someone feels a strong attraction they're not ready to admit, it often shows up in contradictions. His words may sound casual, but his behavior keeps giving him away. Here's the truth: when a man truly feels something for you, it shakes his emotional equilibrium. He's suddenly aware of how much your presence affects him, how much he notices you, how much he cares about your opinion, how his mood subtly changes depending on how you respond. That awareness makes him vulnerable, and vulnerability, especially for someone who isn't used to expressing emotion, feels like exposure. So he tries to cover it up with control, keeping conversations light, avoiding eye contact for too long, or joking around when things start to feel too real. But attraction doesn't obey logic. It leaks through the cracks of self-control. What's fascinating about this dynamic is that people often mistake emotional restraint for disinterest. They assume that if a man isn't openly pursuing them, he must not care. But many times the opposite is true. The men who feel the strongest attraction often pull back the hardest precisely because the feelings scare them. Deep attraction challenges the parts of them that crave stability and self-protection. It exposes something raw, and when a man isn't emotionally ready to face that, he'll mask it with detachment, even though his actions continue to betray him. That's why it's so important not to judge attraction only by expression, but by presence. You'll notice it in how he pays attention, how his energy subtly shifts when you enter a room. You'll see it in his attempts to remain composed while every instinct is telling him to be closer. It's not always in grand gestures, sometimes it's in the quiet moments, when his guard slips for a second and his eyes linger a bit too long. Those are the moments when emotion reveals what words can't. And if you're intuitive, you'll feel it too, because deep attraction isn't something you analyze, it's something you sense. It's the unspoken tension that fills the space between two people who are trying not to let their emotions spill out. The key is to understand that attraction expressed in silence is still attraction. It's often more honest than words because it's not filtered or rehearsed. So, when you notice those small, conflicted signs, the quick glances, the subtle shifts in tone, the quiet moments where the air feels different, recognize them for what they are. Emotional truth disguised as restraint. Don't chase validation by forcing him to admit what he feels. The truth of attraction doesn't need to be declared to exist. It already does. And here's what I want you to remember. When a man tries to hide his feelings but can't completely contain them, that's not weakness, it's evidence. It's proof that your presence has reached the part of him that logic can't control. Another powerful, unspoken clue that reveals when a man is deeply attracted to you but trying hard to hide it is his tendency to remember the smallest details about you. And I don't just mean the obvious things, like your favorite color or the name of your dog. I'm talking about the subtle, seemingly insignificant things, the way you take your coffee, the song you mentioned once in passing, the expression you make when you're thinking. When a man is emotionally drawn to you, his attention sharpens. He doesn't have to try to remember, it just happens, because his focus naturally orients around you. You've entered his mental space not through force, but through emotional gravity. And that's the thing most people overlook. We tend to think attraction is purely about chemistry, or looks, the kind of pull that happens in a single moment. But real attraction, the kind that lingers in a man's thoughts, is rooted in attention. A man only remembers what matters to him. So when he recalls things you've said or mirrors your language without realizing it, what he's really revealing is that you've left an imprint on his emotional world. He may not say it outright, but the subconscious does. His memory becomes a reflection of his investment. There's also a deeper psychological layer here. Men in general are wired to problem, solve, and analyze. But when they're drawn to someone, that same instinct gets redirected. They begin to study you, not in a manipulative way, but in a curious one. They notice patterns, how you react under pressure, what makes you laugh, how your mood shifts when you're tired or inspired. They start connecting dots not because they're trying to decode you, but because they want to understand you. And understanding, in the language of attraction, is intimacy. Now, here's the paradox. The more a man tries to hide his feelings, the more this pattern of attentiveness betrays him. Because genuine care doesn't stay hidden, you can't selectively numb your emotions if he tries to suppress his attraction. That energy doesn't disappear, it just leaks out through his awareness of you. That's why you'll see moments where he seems distant, but then suddenly says something that makes it clear he's been paying attention all along. That's the giveaway. This is why confidence matters so much in these situations. When you sense a man is paying attention to you in this way, don't overanalyze it, and don't downplay it either. Simply stay grounded in your own energy. Attraction that's worth something will always show itself in consistent observation, not just big gestures. When he remembers what you forgot you even said, or brings up something you thought no one noticed, that's when you know the connection has moved past the surface. And that's the beauty of it. Real attraction doesn't need constant confirmation. It reveals itself through quiet attentiveness, through the way someone holds pieces of you in their memory without even realizing they're doing it. Here's the truth I want you to take away. When a man remembers the details that no one else does, it's not just a sign that he likes you, it's a sign that, whether he admits it or not, you've already taken up space in his heart. One of the most revealing yet often misunderstood signs that a man is deeply attracted to you, even if he's trying to hide it, is how he becomes slightly nervous or awkward in your presence. It's not the kind of obvious nervousness that comes with clumsy gestures or fumbling words, though sometimes it shows that way. It's subtler than that. It's the energy shift that happens when a man who is usually calm, confident, and composed starts to second-guess himself around you. He may avoid too much eye contact, laugh at things he normally wouldn't, or overthink his responses, not because he's uninterested, but because he cares too much about how he's being perceived. Attraction, especially when it runs deep, has a way of disarming even the most confident people. When someone truly matters, the stakes feel higher. And that's what's really happening here. His behavior changes because, consciously or unconsciously, he senses that your opinion carries weight. He's not just interacting, he's invested. That's why you can sometimes sense that contradiction. He may appear cool and collected one moment and oddly hesitant the next. What's happening beneath the surface is that his emotional guard is slipping, and his mind is trying to manage that vulnerability without revealing it outright. It's a fascinating paradox, really. We tend to think attraction makes people bold, but often it does the opposite. It makes people cautious. Because when someone touches something real inside us, our usual defenses don't work. For many men, especially those used to being in control, attraction introduces uncertainty. They don't want to misstep, they don't want to be rejected, and they don't want to reveal their emotions too soon. So instead of expressing interest clearly, they overcompensate by acting indifferent, busy, or distracted. But behind that composure, there's tension, a quiet nervousness that reveals exactly what they're trying to hide. You'll see it in the pauses between words, in the slightly longer glances, in the nervous humor, or the over-explaining. You'll feel it in the moments when he seems like he wants to say something but doesn't. It's not that he lacks confidence as a person, it's that he's losing his usual emotional control around you. And that's one of the strongest indicators that you're not just another face in the crowd. But here's the key for you. Don't mistake that nervousness for weakness, and don't overinterpret it either. Just observe it for what it is, a sign of genuine connection trying to break through self-protection. Because the truth is, real attraction doesn't always look smooth or practiced. Sometimes it's messy, sometimes it's uncertain, but that's what makes it real. So when you notice that quiet awkwardness, when his words stumble, when his jokes feel slightly forced, or when he looks away too quickly, understand that you've disrupted his usual rhythm. You've touched something raw and real. And that's not something to chase or fix. It's something to appreciate, because it means the mask is slipping and what's underneath is human. Here's what I want you to remember. When a man's confidence flickers in your presence, it's not a flaw, it's a window. It's proof that he feels something he can't easily control. And in a world full of people who hide behind perfect facades, That moment of unguarded truth might just be the most honest form of attraction there is. One of the most powerful and often overlooked signs that a man is deeply attracted to you, even when he tries to conceal it, is how he remembers the smallest details about you. He may not talk about his feelings, he may not express affection openly, but pay attention to what he recalls. The way he remembers your favorite coffee order, the story you told about your childhood, or even the offhand comment you made about a goal you're working toward. Those are not random acts of memory. They're signs of emotional investment. You see, attraction doesn't just live in chemistry or physical connection, it lives in attention. We remember what we care about. When someone occupies space in our mind, our brain subconsciously tags their words, their gestures, their moments as significant. So when a man remembers the tiny, seemingly trivial things you said, it's because you've become meaningful to him on a level he can't quite rationalize. He's not filing away information to impress you. He's doing it because, emotionally, you've already impressed him. This kind of remembering reveals a different layer of attraction, one that's emotional, not just physical. Most people can flirt, compliment, or show surface-level interest, but true attraction creates mental presence. It means that even when you're not around, he's paying attention in his mind, replaying moments, noticing patterns, and thinking about you without realizing it. That's why he might bring up something you mentioned days ago, or circle back to a conversation you thought was forgotten. It's not coincidence, it's connection. And here's what's fascinating. Many men won't even be aware of this behavior. They'll tell themselves they're just good listeners or observant, but in truth, their focus isn't as sharp with everyone else. This kind of selective memory is how attraction quietly reveals itself. It bypasses logic. It's not about what he should remember, it's about what he can't forget. But here's where it becomes psychologically deeper. When a man remembers details about you, he's not only showing interest, he's creating emotional intimacy. By referencing those details later, he's telling you, I see you, I notice you, you matter enough for me to retain a part of you. And that's powerful, because attraction that leads to real connection isn't just about sparks, it's about being seen. When we feel seen, we open up. When we open up, we connect. And when connection forms, attraction deepens into something that lingers long after physical chemistry fades. This is why, if you want to understand the truth of someone's feelings, don't just listen to their words, watch what their attention does. Does he remember your preferences, your boundaries, your passions? Does he reference conversations that meant something to you? Those aren't habits of disinterest. They're markers of care. And if you're on the other side of that, if you're the one he remembers, take that as confirmation that your presence has left an imprint. That's not manipulation. That's energy exchange. It means your authenticity has done what attraction alone can't. It's built resonance. So, the next time you wonder whether he's truly into you, look past the mixed signals or the guarded exterior. Look for the ways he pays attention. Because attention is the purest form of affection, and memory is the proof that affection has taken root. Here's the truth worth holding onto. People don't remember what doesn't move them. If he remembers you, it's because you've already mattered to him in ways he may not yet have the courage to say out loud.